Welcome back to another edition of The House That Alan Built. I'm Scott Kinmartin. With me, as always,
Greg Vollmer.
Today, we're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills at home. They played against the Green Bay Packers. How'd that go?
Well, in the end, it was the individuals wearing the chicken wings on their head, or the buffalo wings,
Over those cheese
that
heads.
had more fun than the fans in the stadium that were wearing those blocks of stinky cheese.
That's
'Cause
true.
even though the Bills didn't play their best game, and it's going to be, 70% of the talking heads on ESPN or First Take or FS1 with Colin Cowherd or whatever, they're all going to be talking about how we're a liability with our run defense and Josh Allen making mistakes. He's always good in the second half. What happened to Josh Allen? You know what? It doesn't matter.
It was mostly that fourth quarter. And he got sloppy, he got a little cocky, he was trying to, sneak in a couple passes in here and there, floating one over Kumro's head. He was off then. But they already had a comfortable lead. When they were up by 17, they should have scored again, but we had a couple turnovers.
Yeah,
anyway.
And we have gotten spoiled. Bills Mafia is very spoiled these last few years, right? And especially now, I mean, now it's no secret we have a high-powered offense and we have a great defense. And everyone expects good things every week, including our loyal fan base. And it looked like it was going to be one of those 34, 41-10 type parties where the whole last quarter, everyone's just throwing a beach ball around and Josh Allen's sitting, on the sideline with his hat on. But he made some uncharacteristic mistakes. The thing is about Josh Allen is that he is crazy competitive. He's his worst critic, and it's in a good way because he'll
bounce right back against the Jets. But the outcome was the Buffalo Bills 27, the Cheeseheads 17, and the implied final score was 29-18, pretty damn close. And the over-under, 47, it hit the under again. Our predictions, Greg, you predicted
34-14.
So you predicted a 20-point win, and I predicted 30-21, a 9-point win. Neither one of us were right, but I'd say my 9 points was pretty close.
Yep.
Because I picked under the 10.5-point spread, which was the first time Aaron Rodgers had ever been a double-digit underdog, and it held true. Now, they didn't cover because it was 10.5, and we won by 10. Should have won by like 21 or 30, but I digress a little bit there.
Anyone betting on the unders is loving it right now.
But when your team throws two picks, when your star quarterback throws two picks in the fourth quarter, kind of forced some throws, a little off balance. That second interception looked like he was trying to throw it away or low, and the guy just bit on it. It was a nice read. But how about it being chippy from the tunnel? I mean, Jair Alexander, with Stephon Diggs getting right up in his face, that set the tone. Because they go back to the Vikings playing Green Bay. That was a rivalry, right? So it continues. And Packers have still never won in Buffalo. They are now 0-7. And the Bills lead the all-time series 9-5.
Rodgers looked defeated when it was 24-7 going into the halftime. I mean, he had that slumped look on the sideline and kind of just,
yeah, like Mahomes. Allen gifted them a couple picks, and it got interesting because in the second half, the Packers, they needed to throw the ball, and they thought, hey, let's keep the ball out of Allen's hand and just run it. And even though the Bills had the number one run defense, which is now slid to third or fourth because we allowed over 100 yards, they just ran out the clock on themselves. And even though we turned the ball over in critical situations, we got the ball right back the next play when Milano caught an interception off of Tim Settle's tip. Yeah, it was just one of those games where chippy, back and forth in the second half. We kind of stalled out where normally we're really strong in the second half. That's when we allowed points. There were some garbage points, but
yeah, it's uncharacteristic, and the media points that out because of that. And it's just something to kind of grasp onto, and it's kind of just the low hanging fruit. But I feel like at the end of the day, it like Alan said, nothing's as good as you think it is or as bad as you think it is. He's as even keeled as it gets. I mean, he has a short memory, but he's a perfectionist. So that throwing those two picks ate him up. And it probably ate him up even more because he felt like he's such a team player. He felt like he let the defense down with getting those opportunistic turnovers, swapping field position, and he didn't do anything with it. There was no points that resulted from that.
At the end of the day, the Bills start 6-1, and in 7 games, even though he's thrown 6 picks, he's thrown 19 touchdowns. They are on fire. He's still MVP frontrunner. For that victory,
Yep.
Let's do another one.
Hey, everyone's lot of the media is saying it was an ugly win, including Allen. But you know what? Bills Mafia, we'll take any fucking win. Let's go.
Bills start 6-1. We got to do a little cheers here, man.
Hey, Another victory Monday and a whole victory week before we play the rival Jets.
Hey, it's Oktoberfest, but now we're in November.
Let's go Bills. Let's go Buffalo. Come on.
Tastes like last month.
Like I say, you know what's better than an ice cold beer? An ice cold beer after the Bills win.
That's true. All right, well, let's get into some stats here. Green Bay had players dropping like flies, but we did have a couple injuries. Matt Milano ended up with an oblique injury. He finished the game. That's just like the corner of your abdomen. And that could be like, okay, day to day, but it could also be weeks off. It could be the rest of the season, but I doubt it. I mean, they haven't really talked about that kind of thing. And at the trade deadline, they didn't pick up a linebacker or anything. So we should be pretty good. Now, Jordan Poyer, he hurt a pop in his elbow. Now, he had an existing injury, but apparently it's a different elbow injury. Reggie Bush's sister, Rachel Bush, she said that he's just going to have to wear a brace and he'll be fine, but that's her. She's not a doctor, and she doesn't know the details, considering the team allegedly doesn't know yet.
I'm not a doctor, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
So we don't know. Other than Poyer and Milano, I think we ended up pretty much unscathed, where they lost 5 or 6 players. It started with Christian Watson early on after his first catch, I believe. The first catch of the game, I believe, was Sammy Watkins, and that was his only catch of the game. And the first run of the game for the Bills was Singletary. And he ended up having a spot where he ran 4 times in a row. And the last one was a 30-yard rush.
Motor doing motor things, just running chunk plays.
Yeah, we had all these rumors that we're going to try to go after Kareem Hunt and Elvin Kamara. And maybe we did go for Kamara and CMC. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we stuck with what we had, other than a draft pick.
Trade alert.
We did do a trade, but we'll talk about that in the preview for the Jets game. Right now, let's focus on Allen versus Rodgers. Allen did not have his best game. He was 13 of 25 for 218 yards, 2 touchdowns, and those 2 picks that ended up not being too costly because we still won. How good is that? When your team has an off game, your quarterback still throws for over 200, even though it's normally 300-400 lately, and they win by 10 against Aaron Rodgers. That's good. Rodgers had 203 yards. He was 19 of 30, 2 touchdowns, and he also had a pick. And it was a tipped one. He still shows that he's got some arm talent and a deep ball. He just doesn't have anyone to throw it to other than Romeo Doubs, who had a nice game. Taron Johnson, one of the best slot corners in the game, got tight coverage on him, and still he gave up a touchdown and a really nice crucial first down. Yeah, I mean, overall, like I said, Diggs was chirping. Davis had a personal foul from going after Alexander after the play.
Yep.
He had, again, 7 targets. He only had 2 catches. So Davis, once again, he's off. He has those games where he only has 2 catches, and then next week he could have 7 catches for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. But we got to be ready for the Jets because their defense is as good as Green Bay's gotten on defense, focusing on all the draft picks there. The Jets are going to be a tougher matchup for our offense.
It's going to be, yeah, it's going to be a test, I think, especially because it's in the division, the AFC East. In order to win the Super Bowl, are we going to have all of our receivers firing on all cylinders like we've had on some of the games so far through these 8 weeks? No. Is it good that we can have just one receiver shine and the others kind of step back with a complementary run game with Singletary? That's a good thing.
Well,
we can win in different ways. We can win ugly. They're not all going to be 41-3, 41-10. As much as we want it as fans to just blow the brakes off of all these teams, there's going to be games like this. And Allen is amazing, but he's going to have some hiccups. The way to remain just optimistic, which you can find many reasons to, but to be optimistic about not only we're 6-1 when 80-90% of the league is playing like absolute dog shit.
We still have 5 divisional games.
We still have 5 divisional games, which is good. A lot to catch up for divisional record. Look, we're 6-1. We've dealt. I feel like when it comes to injuries, we've taken 2 steps forward, 1 step back. The whole first, 8 weeks.
Well, it shows that we have depth.
Our first 7 weeks, yeah. But yet, how many teams would have just sank like the Titanic?
Sure.
They would be maybe 2-3 wins right now.
You got to trust the process, though.
I'm telling you, it's a special thing. And again, this won't be the talking narrative for a lot of the media outlets this week. It's going to be more because they can't always talk good about the team, right? And so it's going to be about Allen making the mistakes. Some of it.
They're still ranked number 1 in power rankings. They're going
to be, barking about the, being vulnerable on the run defense. But the fact of the matter is, everyone that knows football knows that what the Bills have done in the first 7 weeks with all the injuries they have dealt with, and yes, all the teams deal with injuries, but we have been bit by the injury bug, and to be able to be only 100 degrees in Miami away from being a perfect 7-0 is just nuts.
You can see how much our expectations as fans have been raised through the roof because
For sure, yeah.
not only are we expecting playoffs and a Super Bowl appearance, but when nationally you're picked as a Super Bowl favorite, you expect to show up every week. And we have. I mean, we lost by 2 to Miami, and that was a game that, again, could have gone either way. We've had 3 blowout wins against, right now, division leaders. We've beaten all 3 of the other division leaders.
Yep.
It was good to see Singletary get some runs. It was good to see that Diggs is always dependable. He averages 109 yards a game, and he had 108 and a touchdown. He now has 7 touchdowns in 7 games.
It is awesome. As much as I want to see both him and Davis just both go for over 1,000 or whatever, we were talking about that like earlier
still
in the
could.
season.
There's
and it
10
still
more
could happen,
games.
yeah. But it's awesome to see Diggs just doing what we've expected of him ever since we made that trade. I'm sure Brandon Beane's tickled because he took a chance on a guy that a lot of people questioned about his character and could he fit in and could he be a team player, and he's been an absolutely just class act. I mean, he talks and he chirps like you were talking about to begin the game, but
he backs it up.
He backs it up, and Allen has his back, right?
And you know that Sauce Gardner's not going to be doing the same thing to him that Jair Alexander did, because
a fun matchup.
It will be, but it should be a little more modest on their end.
He's
got a rookie,
right.
Even though he's flashing, he wore the cheese head, and they beat the Packers too.
And the thing about Diggs is he matches the energy of the vibrations of what's coming at him. So if people are being quiet, he'll be a quiet assassin. If people are yapping, he'll be yapping and then be a loud assassin. Like he matches the energy. Josh Allen has his back. Josh Allen wants it just as bad as he does, and everyone wants it for this team. And it's awesome, man. He said he loves his quarterback because he's delivering, like as good as the Vikings are right now, it's just Kirk Cousins isn't Josh Allen. And I think even though
we see them next week.
Yeah, no slight to Vikings fans, but it's different style of quarterbacks. And sometimes one play style, when it comes to like a wide receiver, just matches with another quarterback style. And I just feel like, this synergy, this chemistry, it was a match made in football heaven.
Oh, on and off the field, they've got chemistry.
And Gabe Davis was a draft pick,
4th round steal. So overall, we had Rodgers and Allen both just do okay numbers. We know they're both talented. The teams are headed in clearly opposite directions, and it was good to see that James Cook got some touches. I feel like there were 2 series with Singletary, and after they were up 14-0, they brought in Cook, who did well. He had a nice little 40-yard catch. He looks like he's gaining confidence. Now we have somebody we traded for, which will probably be a nice passing down back and a punt returner. We'll talk about that in the next video. When you look at the stats on the box score, you're going to see it pretty even when it comes to first downs and passing yards. And both teams had 2 sacks each, and Rodgers threw a pick and we threw 2. And the game that way looked more even. The eye test will definitely say the Bills were far superior. They just kind of laid off a little bit in the second half. And I don't want to see that. I think Dorsey will learn his lesson to be more aggressive. I think, you don't play to your competition, you drive through them. And you keep going like you did against the Rams and the Titans. And, those are the type of games that I want to see moving forward.
It is interesting that we ultimately, though, made the Packers quit on the pass game because they knew that the run game was really their only thing working for them.
And I think it actually was working.
Passed a couple beautiful catches and throws from Rodgers to Dobbs.
And great catch. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Samari Torrey or something.
Yeah, when Rodgers had that classic.
I think it's French. Nice play. I think the part where the Bills fell short was they were the number 1 third down converting offense. The Chiefs were right there with it. So when we look at the box score, you're going to see that the Bills' third down efficiency wasn't nearly as good as it usually is. They were 2 for 7, and Green Bay was 6 of 12. So, of course, a lot of that came in the second half, I want to say in garbage time. But they did find something that was working with Aaron Jones, and they were chipping away at us. And then what's nice to have 2 backs that are both efficient, you can keep them fresh. A.J. Dillon comes in, and he's running right through the middle of us. We did not tackle as well as we happened. Like I said last week, we started trending in the wrong direction. That continued. But Von Miller, he still had a nice stop on a 4th down, turnover on downs. Greg Rousseau looks good. He had another sack.
Yeah.
So Von Miller's leading the team with 6 sacks. Rousseau has 5, so he's coming into his own.
He's not blinking, as Von Miller would say.
He's already got more sacks than he did last year in 17 games. So in 10 less games, he's got 5.
What did you call that? What did you call that? What kind of effect?
Von Miller effect?
There it is.
Yeah. The Bills, if I'm looking at the stats here, you see 216 yards passing versus 190 for Green Bay. Not very good. But it was 8 yards per pass play for us versus 6 yards per pass play for them. And rushing, we had 6.8 per rush. They had 6.3 yards per rush. Pretty even. You saw Singletary had 67 yards on 14 carries. It was efficient. If you can get 4.5 yards a carry every time, 4.8, that's good. And once in a while, you have a 30-yard scamper.
What's league average? Like 3.5, 4?
4 is good because if you think about it, if you run first, second, third down, right, you're getting 12 yards.
I mean,
first down.
honestly,
First, second down.
Yeah, it's like you think about watching some running backs, it seems like, it's a struggle to get a couple yards, and that can go on for 3, 4, 5 drives. I mean, it's very few and far between now that you're watching Singletary get minus yards or just like 1 or 2. He's a chunk play running back right now, and he's catching the ball out of the backfield. And in every game, you can always have the woulda, coulda, shoulda if you could go back, whether it's the 13 seconds or like just different moments in any given game where you're like, man, if just this would have happened, just that would happen.
If only Josh had ran the ball more than 6 times instead of trying to force it in for an interception.
Yeah, and even though it can be a fool's task to like rehash it, it's also just still entertaining to be like, look, if it weren't for a couple just beautiful passes that were, like you said, amazingly covered by our DBs.
Yeah.
But if it weren't for a couple just beautiful connections to Dobbs, and if Allen would have just converted those 2 picks into 10 points, maybe a field goal and a touchdown, which easily could have happened.
Sure.
You're looking at a where you're saying it's not an ugly win, it's just typical Bills win.
Well, when Poyer went out, Rodgers immediately attacked that deep.
Smart,
and that's when he threw the 37-yard touchdown to Toure or whatever, however you want to say his name. The defense did well. Matt Milano, again, all-pro. He had a great game. Edmonds actually led the team with 16 tackles. He was in a lot of places, but everyone missed a tackle. Poyer, we went back and watched the highlights. I'm like, ooh, that's a tackle he's got to make.
Yeah.
And they seemed a little off, So reset, get ready for the Jets, and let's move forward. Now, with Allen, he ran the ball 6 times for 49 yards, and I feel like there were times where I actually wanted him to run it more. Normally, we're like, let's rely on Singletary, which they did, but there were times where it's like, he's running just next to the line of scrimmage where you can't cross if you're going to try to pass it. And then he'll pass it or fake it, and, he does that. He'll tuck it. But I just want him to be more careful with the ball.
The thing is, every game he's got just a play that gets the whole, either all of Bills Mafia, Bills Nation amped up, but it gets his teammates amped up. Every game, whether it's a crazy run play or it's a crazy pass that he threw through, quadruple coverage, just darted it.
Yep.
Or whether it's him hurdling over someone. In this game, it was their first touchdown drive where Allen had the run where he got to the 1-yard line, got popped,
nice.
Gets up and is just laughing like a psycho.
Yeah, he's like, yes, that's
just
it. That's
saying,
it.
I love this.
Yeah.
And his teammates love that because there's a dude that just lays it on the line, takes a hit, gets up. And it is scary because even though he seems invincible, one hit like that could dislocate a shoulder.
He had a nice slide that showed you that he knows how to do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he had a couple great slides.
But think about it for a DB or a linebacker rolling out with the quarterback shadowing him, and you got a 6'5", 247-pound quarterback coming at you. He hits hard. And he makes you. He punishes you.
No one wants to tackle him. But
that's true. So on that play where Allen rolled out, he made it right to the goal line, got popped, and then I want to say the next play they tried to run it up the middle, that got stuffed, and then the next play he rolled out, pump faked, and instead of running it in,
he took a page. I know it's not like the greatest name to like mention, but he looked like Brett Favre. I know Brett Favre.
We were playing the Packers, so it's fitting.
I know Favre's going through some legal situations, may not be the most pleasant of situations, but
it's still a QB reference, and the guy was still a legend on the field.
He was, yeah, and I don't know, I don't know what's going on with that whole thing, but yes, he looked just like Brett Favre because that's the play that I loved watching Brett Favre do in the '90s and the early thousands. So, it was,
the early thousands, I like it. The early thousands.
It's that kind of a night, Scott. It's that I'm on one tonight, man. I'm running off. I'm for all you at home. I'm running off of about 4 hours of sleep because of my own stupidity, and then having to work today. And anyways, Bills Mafia and this guy helped lift me up, bring this energy in.
Once again, the Bills air it out. They don't take long to score, so they're 24th in the league as far as time of possession. They let the other team have the ball longer. I mean, that's what it is. They don't need it. That's what Rodgers was trying to do, is keep the ball out of Allen's hands because he knew he couldn't outdo him because Allen's got Diggs, Davis, Knox, McKenzie, Cook, Singletary. He's got so much, and I mean now we've
A
got
wealth of weapons, a
Yeah.
bounty, if you will, of weapons.
yes.
And do you think, okay, I want you to put yourself in the mindset of you've got the headset on, you're Coach McDermott. I'm Leslie Frazier.
Trust the process.
We're watching that last like 15 to 20 minutes of that second half, and they're seeing like what at what point are they having that conversation to each other like, okay, what we're doing is not working, but do we want to keep having them run chunk plays because that clock just keeps on ticking? What is the conversation go on between Leslie and McDermott there?
They stuck to their game plan, and Von Miller was just flabbergasted. He said he couldn't believe. He actually went up to Rodgers and was like, "Are you guys going to pass the ball?" That was by design. I mean, they were softer. It's the whole bend don't break thing, right?
Some of it was. I think
They were
some of it
expecting
was
passing from Rodgers.
Yeah, some of it was design, and then
Of course,
some of it was
of course
out
you're gonna
position.
have bad tackling. If I'm talking to him, I say, "Hey, we switch it up," right? When you see that, they're just gonna keep running. What they kept thinking each drive was, okay, they ran 3 times in a row. Now they're gonna pass. No, they ran it again and again and again. They didn't do it to set up a pass. They literally were just doing it because it was working. So if they could do that, eat up the clock, hope a turnover or a 3-and-out, which actually Allen was helping them with, that game could have gotten ugly quickly in our favor or against us, because at one point it could have been 41-7, 41-10, but instead 27-17, and they're marching down again. It could have been 27-24. Then you got Rodgers with a minute or two left. Maybe he didn't have any timeouts, but imagine that happened. If Crosby didn't miss that field goal, then we got a tie game in that situation.
Exactly. Like it would be a total different conversation between Frazier and McDermott on that headset if it was a 17-20 game or a 20-20 game.
Yeah.
Because then that's pressure on you, and you're like, we can't stop them, and we could lose this game, as opposed to we know we've got a pretty decent cushion, and we're just gonna let them milk the clock for us. Like you said, it's just I'm beating a dead horse here, but you're gonna hear this whole week. Until you start talking about the Jets game in the media, but you're going to hear the whole half of the week talking about how the Bills couldn't stop the run in that game. But you know what? At the end of the day, when you win a Super Bowl, they're not going to say at the end of it, oh, you won it, or if you get, win the AFC title game, let's just say that. They're not going to say, oh, you won the AFC title game, but you gave up 250 yards on the ground to the Colts in week 7. Or, oh, you gave up 180 yards to the Packers in week 7.
Look.
But you know what? All that matters, that's where the whole doesn't matter if it's ugly, beautiful, in between. A win is a win, and it all counts the same at the end of when you're getting going for that 1 seed. So
the Vikings are 6-1, and they've scored 10 more points than they've allowed. We are literally like plus 150 something right now. We are by far number 1 total defense in the league. I'm not worried about it.
And if we can,
I'm not worried about
and if
it.
we have the coaching staff that can make the halftime adjustments that were the best in the league up until recently, still
happens,
the
man.
tops in the league, then they sure as hell can adjust some run game issues.
A lot more of it had to do, I believe, with
run
complacency and just, that fourth quarter. Through 3 quarters where it started to stall out a little bit, okay, the bar we were at got a little quiet.
Well, and it probably got a little quiet at the Ralph. And so, not to say that just Bill's Backer Bar in Portland, Oregon is going to mimic the energy of the Ralph, because it doesn't. But at the same time, it was the tale of 2 halves at the bar.
Sure.
First half, we're all slapping.
Oh,
Slapping hands, slapping.
I bit my tongue. I bit my tongue. That was Diggs.
Today, Junior. We're all high-fiving. We're doing the shout song. It's looking like it's gonna be like 31-7 at half, or whatever. The energy was there, and then it was like it seemed like the Bills kind of fell asleep on both sides of the ball to begin that second half, and then I feel like the fans might have fallen asleep a little bit too. But again, it just goes to show that there's not, you're not always going to have energy on the team. There's going to be some off quarters, and it's just there could be if they make the title game or the Super Bowl. I don't want to knock on wood, but if they make it deep, they're going to have a quarter that's off every once in a while, and it could happen in a pivotal game.
Of course.
But how do you respond? And we've seen Allen have the clutch gene, and that's what makes you feel good.
How I look at it is, we didn't play our best game. The Bills didn't, and we won by 10. That's it. Plain and simple.
Our team's ugly win is the Lions' best win. No. Oh man, I shouldn't have put the Lions under the bus like that. Why did I wish I should have said the Patriots.
Well, that's okay. It's okay. The Patriots are now 4-4.
Yeah, they're unfortunately.
I'm looking at it as the Bills punted twice, they punted twice. We turned it over twice, they turned it over once. They had 2 fourth down turnover on downs which we didn't, so we didn't have any fourth down plays. Isn't that crazy?
That is nuts.
But the fact that we punted twice, they
we
punted
go
twice.
for it a lot now.
Martin didn't have his best punting game. He averaged like 36.5, but at least the one was within the 20.
Yeah. And you know what? McDermott, who's now statistically the best win percentage of a Bills head coach.
More than Marv Levy.
How awesome is it that he's adapted?
More aggressive.
He's adapted.
He has. He's learned a lot over.
That's
the
awesome
5 years.
because there's some coaches that are hard headed and it's my way or the highway and this is how I learned it and this is how I'm going to teach it. I'm sure he had some amazing people on the coaching staff that's been kind of being little birdies, in his ear about what he should do. But like ultimately, he had to make the decision to adapt, and so that's huge.
They rely more on analytics. Analytics.
It's been a tongue twister type of a night.
Yes.
Cheers. Cheers. You know what?
Yeah.
My dad. Did I tell you this about my dad? He was talking to me and he goes, "Man, I was watching part of your podcast. I didn't make it through all of it because I had to help your mom."
Oh, that sucks. Your own dad didn't make it all the way through.
Well, okay, so real quick, there's no time probably better than this to give a shout out to my awesome mom, Deanna. She just got her knee replaced, so it's nothing life threatening, but still a major surgery.
Yeah.
And she's getting up there in age, and she's still an avid hiker. So, and her knees were bad enough that it's kind of, I'm gonna pull a Rich Eisen. How bad was it? Bad enough that the doctor told my dad as she was going into recovery, that's one of the worst knees I've ever seen. And that's what my dad told me after I said how'd it go. They're two peas in a pod. The stuff they say is hilarious, man.
Well, they've been together a long time.
How long have your parents been together? 55 years.
55 years!
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's unbelievable.
Well, shout out to you.
Yeah, so Deanna, my mom, if there's, most of the giving and good bones in my body come from her. My dad's amazing.
Nothing compares to a mom.
Well, yeah, you know what? She makes my dad better, and I think my dad's made her better too. They're just a good match, and she's always been a good person, and trying to strive to be someone like that. And same with my dad. Like my mom and dad to this day, they do Meals on Wheels. They help out the less fortunate in Rapid City, South Dakota. My mom is always taking care of the elderly. Neighbors that needed help that were going blind. Like she's just an awesome person, and so she's recovering right now. She's having to go through a lot of exercises that my dad's helping her with because he also had his knee replaced. So now they can lean on each other there.
Yeah.
And he can lend her a knee. No, but no, it's awesome. It's not awesome that she's going through it.
It went well.
Yeah, it went well, and she's hopefully she can get the other one done, even though it's going to be a pain. But
literally.
Yeah, but to get back to my dad saying, he goes, "Yeah, I was watching your podcast," and he's just like, "Man, like it's fun. You guys are having so much fun talking about the Bills because they're winning, but like it would be a little bit different if they weren't." And then look.
Yes, this is exciting. We get to do Victory Mondays.
There's always the loyalty and there's always the passion. But if we had started this podcast during just balls deep in the 17th.
Oh yeah, I don't want to take this for granted. I love that they're winning.
It would just be tough. It would be more tough because there'd be a lot more negativity and criticism and being cynical and just the things that came with having to hear that your team were the lovable losers and they could never get out of their own way.
BILLS. Boy, I love losing Super Bowls.
They always stepped on their own shoestrings. And now it's all in the past. And we Bills fans deserve every bit of this that we're getting because we earned it. We went through that pain. And so it just made me like another moment of just being like, man, this is real. Like we are one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league. And and
we're on a collision course with the Eagles.
And it's just like, it makes this easy to do to talk about them because
easy for you. I have to edit these, and this guy over here,
this poor guy,
17 take Timmy over here.
Yeah, it's not.
Today's been a rough one.
It's been a rough one.
We're good. We've got some bloopers, and we always sneak them in at the end of these episodes.
I think you can get about 90% of the blooper footage if you ever put a whole video together.
You hear that footage?
You're gonna get 90% of it. You're gonna get 90% of it from this one right here.
Yeah, well, I'll probably do a montage one of these days where it just shows all of our
montage. Even Rocky had a montage. You gotta slowly fade out in a montage.
Montage. Well, honestly, I think that wraps it up. Other than fantasy stuff.
Why?
What now?
Man, we were talking all that talk about the defense. You see what kind of jersey I'm wearing right now? It's a hockey jersey.
Yeah, that's not football.
Yeah, you want to know who played like a hockey player, like a
man.
defensive player?
I don't know. There's a lot of offense.
Jordan Phillips.
Oh,
Just
God.
laid
Bam!
the brick.
On Aaron Jones
Laid
and
the
on the outside.
frickin' wood to two different players on the Packers.
He didn't even use his hands. He's just like, pow, with his shoulder.
He made a hockey player blush.
Oh, yeah.
Good Lord. Shout out to Jordan Phillips. Just, my God.
Yeah.
You want to talk about...
You're the real MVP.
Well, I mean, that's like how Josh Allen hurdles something to amp up up the offense or amp up the whole team.
He's a hype man on
You see
defense.
Jordan Phillips do something like that, or he does doing
Every
that.
week.
You've heard this, over the last couple seasons. I don't know who started the phrase, but like, who is having more fun than the Bills? They win. They love each other. They have fun out there. McDermott lets them be themselves, and the fans, man.
Yeah.
Like we were just talking about. Don't take it for granted.
Well, we have so much fun with football that we end up having fantasy football teams, and it's made football quite a bit different. So let's segue right into your fantasy football talk. What did you get right?
Yeah,
and what
I
did
think
you get wrong?
if I keep on going on the streak that I'm on right now, I may just have to shut down the whole fantasy corner. Jeez.
We'll
Good
talk about
Lord.
Greg's cold takes.
If you're taking fantasy advice from me, I hope to God it's not a big buy-in. No, fantasy. If we haven't alluded to it before, fantasy is not an easy game. It's a lot of luck. It's still a lot of skill.
There's still strategy.
There's strategy involved. But,
In my case, you make a lot of trades, and that could bring you good or bad.
Yeah, the luck part of it brings a frustration, but when you like put time into it and you you take some chances or you do some research or try to look at the numbers or whatever, like there's definitely some rewarding parts. But yeah, sometimes the whole like the nightmare of having your bench outscore your starters, that's anyone that's played fantasy long enough knows that's a constant battle. All right, well, sometimes things go good. Like last year when I won out for 10 weeks in a row, I'd like forgot what it was like to lose in fantasy, Like,
my bench definitely scored more this week. I had Derek Carr starting because Herbert was on bye. And my God, he got 2 points.
And then I gave you and in your league I gave you and I had Daniel
I traded you
Jones.
Deontay Foreman,
Yeah.
and he scored 3 touchdowns for you. That would have won me my week. But I lost my third game of the year.
This dude's made I think about 45 trades this year, and I'm
14.
Holy Okay, so anyways, we're going to do the fantasy corner for this week, and we'll start off with where I was wrong. All right, where I was wrong.
Hold on. Here's another paper over here. There's another paper over there. Let's go back. Hold on. Where's the red flag? Can we challenge this? Replay. Let's see where you were wrong.
Turn off the lights. Okay. All right, so where I was wrong. I talked about maybe picking up Ben Skowronek. He put up 1.5 points and half PPR on one target. I said you should maybe pick up Braxton Berrios if you're desperate. If you picked him up, he put up 0 points on one target. I said to get Otten. For the Bucks. Cade Otten.
He had a touchdown. It was called back.
He did have a damn touchdown that was called back, or else he would have probably had a 9-10 point game. That sucks. So I started him in one of my leagues and paid for it. So I was wrong a lot this week. And then I said pick up Marquise Goodwin, and he was the best of the bunch of where I thought I was going to be right. But he only got four targets on 4 catches on 5 targets for 33 yards.
Yeah, that wasn't much.
Put up 5 points. Yeah. Where I was right, just really one. I mean, unless you count the Otten touchdown callback. Greg Dulcich. What a great first name. Greg Dulcich. 4 catches on 5 targets for an efficient 87 yards, put up 10 points and half PPR.
Yeah.
Should have been the one I decided to start, which I thought about instead of Otten, and there's that luck factor.
Isn't that the rookie from Denver?
It's that rookie from Denver.
Okay.
People think he looks like the dude from
the long hair
from Workaholics. With the like curly hair from Workaholics, dude, it's hilarious. Like, oh man, again, I spend way too much time looking at the comments on Yahoo. It's so funny.
Tight ends, Conklin.
Dude,
that guy is doing it.
I slept on him.
He's got that long squiggly
Squiggly
hair. Do you have fantasy talk? I mean,
I always have fantasy talk.
Well,
my whole life is a fantasy.
Let's not get into that right now.
Honestly, I might just take this week off for fantasy advice, to be honest. Ultimately, just kind of to wrap up what's going on so far midway through the fantasy year, it looks like you have a major drop off in quarterback talent. If you don't have maybe 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks, you're kind of throwing dart, and it hasn't always been that way. Usually, I was talking with Jake, and he mentioned how usually there's like maybe 10 to 12 that are they'll put up 25 to 30 a week, right? And you can just kind of like maybe start a few here
Stafford, Tannehill, Carr, those guys are trash right now.
Yeah.
Or injured.
It really drops off like the Grand Canyon, like past those elite quarterbacks. That includes Allen, includes Mahomes. And I thought Joe Burrow would be in that category of elite quarterbacks, but his O-line is so putrid. If they were a condom brand, they'd be Durex because they directs the opposition directly into the quarterback.
Lyle Collins, it was like, you got me, I'm going to make sure I take care of my quarterback. Dude, that offensive line is Swiss cheese. They haven't done...
Yeah, it's bad. There's a huge drop-off at quarterback, and then there's a huge drop-off at running back, I feel like, more than usual. And then just you add in the fact that every team, it seems like, is by committee these days. And
Yep.
Anyways, it's tumultuous. If you've got only 1 or 2 losses or 3 losses so far, you're doing pretty good. It's been a wild year.
Well, let's show our cards, but before we do, I just noticed that this Leinenkugels.
Leinenkugels?
What is it?
Leinenkegels?
Leinenkegels, is it?
Leinenkugels. Yeah,
is it what I just said?
Oh, is it Leinenkugels? Oh, okay. Sorry.
This beer right here, Pride of Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. Wisconsin. We just played Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I just watched the Jeffrey Dahmer series on Netflix. He's from Wisconsin. You can hear his accent. It's very nasally, like buffalo, like the Rust Belt.
Oh yeah,
it's very similar.
Oh yeah,
Wisconsin cheese.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you know about Jeffrey Dahmer. If you watch the series, you have to have some thick skin and be okay with true crime, creepy stuff.
How did we get on to Jeffrey Dahmer?
Wisconsin.
Oh,
Wisconsin.
Yeah,
we just
right.
played the Packers. So, my card first. This is Liquidity. We may have shown this card already, but Gold Standard 2022 Liquidity. And it is 9 of 25. I think this is a beautiful card, front and back. You know what? I'm starting to think that maybe we did, but I don't even care. It's a nice card. I've got a lot. We have a long season. And that is a cool card.
That is an awesome card.
What do you have there, bud?
So this is one of my personal
One of
favorites
his own
from my collection. It's the High Voltage. I've been wanting one of these for a long time, and I got one about 4 or 5 months ago. 2020 Panini Spectra Football, number 14 of 25, High Voltage. It's got some pretty sweet graphics there. It's got the 2-color patch with the red and the white split down the middle.
That is a sweet card.
I love it. It's one of my favorites.
Do you have anything you want to say to the fans before we leave?
Bills Mafia. Whether you're in Western New York watching it on your living room couch, or you're at a bar or at a house party, or whether you're traveling to the old MetLife Stadium to see it in person, whatever you do, have some fun, pound some Labatt's, jump through some tables responsibly, and as always, take a few hydration breaks. Go Bills.
That's going to do it for this episode of The House That Ellen Built. I'm Scott Kinmartin. With me, as always,
Greg Vollmer.
We will see you next episode where we talk about the Buffalo Bills going to MetLife Stadium to play the New York Jets, who are what? 5-3? 6-1 versus 5-3.
Yeah.
Here we go. That's it.
Let's
go
Buffalo!
Buffalo! Woo! Let's do it. Woo! Let's have a better episode next time.
All right, sorry, man.
Holy shit. That's an hour and a half.
If anything, though, we got some funny footage. That's for sure.
I hope so.
Hey, let's
right.
go Buffalo! Come at me, mother. You wanna test the mic? How about the backup? Testing 1, testing 2, testing 1, 2. Mic, check.
Wow!
Lethal.
Mike Tyson, your
These
ass!
are lethal registered weapons in the state of Louisiana, huh?
Louisiana?
Mother.
In Delaware.
Where you from? You don't know Gator. This here's a North American Gator. Whoa, look at here. We got a couple blueberries coming in here making a fruit salad. Where you from? You don't know Gator. This Gator, you see by the ridges on the back, this Gator probably 40, 50-year-old. He been in a fight before. You know, you got to approach the Gator like a predator. Not like prey, like a predator. This here's a North American
Are we going to open the
alligator.
beer like this or no?
Sure.
Sure. Welcome back to another edition of The House that Alan Built. I'm Scott Kinmartin. With me, as always,
Greg Vollmer.
Greg Vollmer.
Sorry. All right. Okay.
But
It rhymes with rhymes. Jesus Christ. It's the water boy. Oh, I'm sure in the water. It's the water boy.
It rhymes with rhymes.
I'm
Number of
sorry, but
injuries.
my mama's very sick, and I'm not going to be able to make it to the Bourbon Bowl. Well, wake her ass up. We've got a game to win. You can do it. You can do it all night long. Us getting Naeem Hines is just, it's quite frankly, just sugar on top of what already is a good.
We didn't mention that yet. Rhymes with rhymes. John,
I know. I'm just like,
it's
I'm
going to
off.
take me 17 hours
I'm
to edit.
sorry, man.
It's okay.
I practiced my lines, and now it doesn't look like I fucking practiced my lines.
Practice?
Made yourself look like an idiot in front of all those people. It's the scene from
I don't know. I mean, you throw out these lines all the
practiced
time.
lines, and now it doesn't look like and then that drive ended so awesome where then Allen again scrambled to the outside, did a little fake, pointed to have someone block, and then go. Oh wait, no, that wasn't it. Where he did the Brett Favre chuck.
To Knox, yeah.
I don't mean to beat a horse to. I don't mean to beat a horse to death. Well, she better do. You know what I'm saying? But oh my God!
I don't mean to beat a dead horse.
I'm gonna start. Okay, here we go. All right. I mean, yeah, I thought even Burrow could be put in that category, but the Bengals' offensive line, if they were a condom brand, they'd be Durex because they, you know, the movie Limitless.
Yeah, you need a pill.
I need a pill right now, man.
What kind of is it?
Good
The pill that
Lord.
keeps you hard?
I need a blue pill and a red pill. God, just give me all the pills. Yeah, I thought Burrow was going to be in that category, but I mean, the Bengals' offensive line, if they were a condom brand, they'd be Durex because they let the defense get past. How did I say that? Holy shit!
The defense to the
No! I
because
practiced my lines, and now it doesn't look like I practiced my lines. Make yourself look like a fucking fool in front of everybody.
Direct.
8 whiskey fucking sours. You couldn't just have 3. You gotta have 8 fucking whiskey sours. You're a fucking drunk. All right, okay. That was my Leonardo DiCaprio from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I thought that Burrow was gonna be in that conversation of elite, but okay, and Come on, Rick. You're an outlaw. Come on. All right. And I thought Joe Burrow would be in that elite category, but his offensive line is so bad. If they were a condom brand, they'd be Durex because they're. Okay.
you can't say it. You literally can't get it out. Today, Junior.
Okay. And I thought Burrow would be in that conversation of elite quarterbacks, but if his O-line was a condom brand, they'd be Durex because they direct. God.
Now,